The massive battleship rolled over and vanished beneath the waves, her hull torn open by more punishment than any warship in history had ever endured. 19 torpedo hits, 17 bomb strikes, 4 hours of relentless assault that should have sunk 10 ordinary ships. Yet for decades, naval experts could not explain how the largest, most heavily armored battleship ever built, a floating fortress designed to be unsinkable, had finally succumbed to American air power. The IJN Musashi carried secrets to the bottom of the Sibuyan Sea. Then, in 2015, Microsoft co-founder Paul Allen's deep-sea expedition found her resting upright at 1,000 meters depth. The wreck would reveal the fatal flaw hidden beneath all that armor, a design weakness that turned the ship's greatest strength into her ultimate vulnerability. Musashi represented the pinnacle of naval engineering when she entered service in August 1942. At 863 feet long and displacing 73,000 tons fully loaded, she dwarfed every other warship afloat. But her true marvel lay beneath the surface, an armor scheme so revolutionary that Japanese engineers believed they had created an unsinkable ship. The centerpiece was her main belt armor. 410 millimeters of Vickers-hardened steel wrapped around her vital spaces, angled outward to deflect incoming shells. This was not just thick armor, it was smart armor, designed using advanced metallurgy that could withstand direct hits from 18-inch guns at ranges beyond 20,000 meters. No navy in the world possessed such weapons. Above this belt, a massive armored deck stretched across the ship. 200 millimeters of hardened steel, backed by splinter protection, formed a roof over her magazines and engine rooms. Beneath it, another layer of inclined armor plates created multiple barriers against plunging shells. The Japanese called it the all-or-nothing protection scheme. Absolute invulnerability for vital areas. Minimal armor everywhere else. The turrets themselves were fortresses within the fortress. 660 millimeters of steel protected the gun faces, thick enough to stop a locomotive traveling at full speed. The barbettes that fed ammunition to these massive guns carried armor over half a meter thick. Each turret weighed more than an entire destroyer. But the Japanese engineers went further. They wrapped the anti-torpedo bulges around the underwater hull, creating compartments designed to absorb explosive energy. Multiple watertight bulkheads formed a honeycomb of spaces that could flood without compromising the ship's buoyancy. The theory was elegant. Even if torpedoes breached the outer hull, the inner citadel would remain intact. Pre-war tests seemed to validate this confidence. When designers fired shells at armor samples, the plates held. When they detonated charges against hull sections, the damage remained localized. On paper, Musashi was virtually indestructible. The first crack in this theory appeared on March 29, 1944, when the American submarine USS Tunney struck Musashi with a single torpedo. The blast did not sink her, but it did something unexpected. The explosion indented her side armor nearly 1 meter inward. Japanese damage control teams discovered that the impact had stressed the armor belt far beyond design parameters. This should have been a warning. The armor scheme that looked invincible against single hits might not survive sustained assault. The underwater protection system, designed for isolated torpedo strikes, had never been tested against the kind of coordinated air attacks that American carrier groups could deliver. The fatal flaw was subtle but decisive. Musashi's armor could absorb tremendous punishment, but it could not distribute that punishment effectively. Each hit weakened the overall structure, creating stress points that made the next impact more devastating. The ship's greatest strength, her ability to survive individual attacks, became a liability when facing wave after wave of coordinated strikes. On October 24, 1944, that theory would face its ultimate test in the waters off the Philippines. October 24th, 1944, dawned clear over the Sibuyan Sea. Admiral Takeo Kurita's center force was steaming toward Leyte Gulf when American reconnaissance planes spotted the formation. At the center of the fleet, Musashi's massive silhouette stood out like a floating mountain. The first wave arrived at 10:30 in the morning. Torpedo bombers and dive bombers from the carrier Intrepid. Captain Toshihira Inoguchi watched the aircraft approach and knew his ship was about to face the test she was built for. The anti-aircraft guns opened fire, filling the sky with black bursts of flak. The American pilots had never seen anything like Musashi. Her sheer size made her an irresistible target, but also a deceptive one. What looked like a massive, slow-moving fortress was actually a warship capable of 27 knots, turning and weaving through the attacks with surprising agility. The first torpedo struck her port side at 10:50 in the morning. The explosion sent a column of water skyward, but Musashi barely shuddered. Her damage control teams rushed to the impact point and found exactly what they expected: flooding contained within the outer compartments, the inner hull intact. The armor scheme was working, but the Americans were not finished. Wave after wave of aircraft descended on the Japanese fleet, and each time, more planes focused on the giant battleship. By noon, Musashi had absorbed 4 torpedo hits and 3 bomb strikes. Her list to port was noticeable, but manageable. Damage control teams counter-flooded compartments on the starboard side to keep her level. The third wave brought a new level of intensity. Helldiver dive bombers screamed down from 12,000 feet, while Avenger torpedo bombers skimmed the waves from multiple directions. The coordination was devastating. As Musashi turned to avoid torpedoes, she exposed her beam to the dive bombers. As she maneuvered to escape the bombers, more torpedoes found their mark. By 1:30 in the afternoon, the scorecard was becoming ominous. 8 torpedo hits, 7 bomb strikes. The flooding was spreading faster than the pumps could handle. Compartments that should have remained watertight were failing as the cumulative damage stressed bulkheads beyond their design limits. Captain Inoguchi ordered more counter-flooding, but this created a new problem. The ship was settling deeper in the water, making her an even easier target for low-flying torpedo bombers. Each new hit found hull sections already weakened by previous impacts. The 4th and 5th waves arrived in quick succession. American pilots, emboldened by the sight of the listing giant, pressed their attacks with increasing boldness. Torpedo after torpedo slammed into Musashi's port side, each explosion tearing larger holes in her underwater protection system. At 2:45 in the afternoon, a massive explosion rocked the ship. A bomb had penetrated her forward deck armor and detonated in a secondary magazine. The blast killed dozens of crew members and started fires that spread through the forward sections. Smoke began pouring from her superstructure. The damage was cascading beyond all predictions. Compartments flooded, pumps failed, electrical systems went dark. The ship's list increased to 15 degrees, then 20 degrees. Water was now entering through openings that should have been well above the waterline. By 3:30 in the afternoon, Musashi had absorbed 19 torpedo hits and 17 bomb strikes. No warship in history had ever endured such punishment and remained afloat. But the laws of physics were finally asserting themselves. The ship's stability was failing as thousands of tons of seawater shifted her center of gravity. Captain Inoguchi made the hardest decision of his naval career. At 3:45 in the afternoon, he ordered abandon ship. The crew began evacuating as their floating fortress continued its death roll. Many men could not reach the lifeboats as the ship's list increased beyond 30 degrees. At 7:35 in the evening, after 9 hours of battle and 4 hours of sustained air attacks, Musashi capsized and vanished beneath the waves. Over 1,000 of her 2,400 crew went down with her. The unsinkable ship had finally met her match, not from a single catastrophic hit, but from the cumulative effect of damage that overwhelmed even her revolutionary armor scheme. For 71 years, Musashi's exact fate remained a mystery, buried beneath 1,000 meters of Pacific water. Survivors described the progressive flooding and the ship's final moments, but naval architects struggled to understand how such massive armor protection had ultimately failed. Paul Allen's expedition in March 2015 changed everything. Using advanced sonar and remotely operated vehicles, his research vessel Octopus methodically searched the Sibuyan Sea. The breakthrough came when their autonomous underwater vehicle detected a massive anomaly on the seabed, something far too large and regular to be natural terrain. The remotely operated vehicle's lights illuminated a sight that took the breath away from everyone watching the live feed. Musashi lay upright on the bottom, her superstructure intact, her massive gun turrets still in place.